Right now, as you're watching this, your bank account could vanish in 8 seconds. Not from hackers on the ground, from 300 miles above your head. February 24th, 2022. Russian tanks cross into Ukraine. The world watches in horror. But something else is happening. Something invisible. In the first 48 hours, Russia launches over 300 cyber attacks, trying to destroy Ukraine's internet infrastructure. Hospitals, power grids, military communications, everything should go dark. Except it doesn't. Because 48 hours after the invasion begins, Elon Musk does something unprecedented. He activates thousands of Starlink satellites over Ukraine. Suddenly, a nation under siege has an internet that can't be cut. Soldiers coordinate drone strikes in real time. Civilians find evacuation routes. Field hospitals stay connected, all because of machines orbiting at 17,000 miles per hour. Russia's response? They try to jam the signals, hack the satellites, and when that barely works, they make a chilling threat. Shoot them down. But here's the thing. If they do that, they trigger something far worse than any bomb. They trigger a chain reaction that could end the space age entirely. Welcome to the orbital war you never knew was happening. And it's not just Ukraine. It's not just Russia. It's every nation with the capability to reach space playing a game of chicken 300 miles above the Earth. A game where the weapons don't explode. They just make your GPS stop working. Your bank transfers freeze. Your ambulance can't find you. Let me show you how insane this has become. The height of the Cold War. While American kids are watching Star Trek, Soviet engineers are building something out of a nightmare, the Almaz program. Military space stations, not for science, not for exploration, for war. These stations are equipped with something no one talks about. A 23mm aircraft cannon, an actual machine gun, in space. They test fire it once. The recoil nearly spins the entire station out of control. The cosmonauts inside are rattled around like dice in a cup. But it works. It proves you can shoot things in orbit. The Americans find out and panic. They start their own program. For 2 decades, both superpowers are building weapons in space, and the public has no idea. Fast forward to January 11th, 2007. China wants to join the club. They launch a missile from the ground, not at an enemy, but at their own aging weather satellite. Direct hit. The satellite explodes into 3,000 pieces of shrapnel, each piece traveling at 4 miles per second, faster than any bullet ever fired on Earth. Those pieces are still up there, right now. They'll orbit for decades. And here's the terrifying part. Every single fragment is a bullet waiting to hit something else. The International Space Station has to dodge them. Active satellites worth billions of dollars have to maneuver around them. One collision creates more debris. More debris causes more collisions. It's called the Kessler Syndrome, a chain reaction that could make entire regions of space unusable for generations. India does the same thing in 2019. They shoot down their own satellite just to prove they can. 400 new pieces of debris. Then Russia, in November 2021, conducts their own test. They destroy one of their defunct spy satellites. The debris cloud heads straight for the International Space Station. Russian cosmonauts, their own people, have to shelter in the escape pods for hours, not knowing if a fragment traveling at Mach 23 is about to punch through the hull. Russia endangered their own astronauts, just to send a message. If you're just realizing how fragile our modern world actually is, hit that like button and subscribe, because what I'm about to tell you gets even darker. 9,000 active satellites are orbiting Earth right now. 20 years ago, there were fewer than 1,000. They're not just taking pretty pictures, they're running everything. GPS systems that guide ambulances, banking satellites that process credit card transactions, communication networks that let you call your family, weather satellites that warn about hurricanes, military satellites that watch for missile launches. And there are no rules protecting them. None. The Outer Space Treaty from 1967 says you can't put nukes in space and you can't claim the moon as your property. That's it. Nothing about conventional weapons, nothing about jamming signals, nothing about cyber attacks. It's the legal equivalent of saying, don't bring nuclear weapons to the knife fight, but allowing everything else. So countries are getting creative, terrifyingly creative. The United States has what they call inspector satellites. Officially, they examine other satellites for damage. Unofficially, they can sidle up to a Chinese or Russian satellite, listen to its transmissions, photograph its technology, and maybe, just maybe, give it a little nudge into a bad orbit. Oops, technical malfunction. China is developing satellites with robotic arms for cleaning up space debris, they say. But a robotic arm that can grab debris can also grab a GPS satellite and crush its antennas, or throw it into the atmosphere to burn up. Plausible deniability. It was just a malfunction, they'd claim. Russia has satellites that can deploy clouds of metal fragments, essentially space shotgun blasts. Imagine a satellite releasing thousands of ball bearings into the path of an enemy satellite. At orbital speeds, a paint chip hits with the force of a hand grenade. Ball bearings would shred anything in their path. And then there's the cyber warfare angle. In February 2022, just as Russia invaded Ukraine, hackers, almost certainly state-sponsored, attacked the Viasat satellite network. One satellite system compromised. The result? Thousands of wind turbines across Europe went offline because they used that network for monitoring. Internet access vanished. Security systems failed. One satellite, one cyber attack, and critical infrastructure across an entire continent stumbled. Now imagine that scaled up. Not one satellite, not one network. Imagine a coordinated attack on GPS systems, communication satellites, and banking networks all at once. Your phone says no signal. Your car's navigation system stops working. The ATM spits out an error message. Planes can't navigate safely. Air traffic control goes dark. Ships lose their positioning systems. Ambulances can't find addresses. The stock market freezes because transaction confirmations can't route through space anymore. Within hours, the global economy, which moves $17 trillion in goods every year using GPS coordinates, grinds to a halt. Within days, the debris from destroyed satellites starts cascading. More collisions, more fragments, entire orbital zones become graveyards. We're thrown back to 1970s technology, but we're living in a world built for 2025. The chaos would be biblical. Some military strategists call this the perfect first strike weapon. You don't invade a country. You don't bomb their cities. You just blind them from space. Take out their satellites, and they can't coordinate defenses. They can't communicate. They can't even see where your forces are. It's Sun Tzu's The Art of War updated for the 21st century. Win before the first shot is fired on the ground. Here's what keeps Pentagon analysts up at night. The advantage goes to whoever shoots first. If you wait for an enemy to attack your satellites, you've already lost. Your military is blind. Your economy is crippled. So the temptation, the terrible strategic logic, is to strike first during any crisis. Take out their satellites before they take out yours. It's the Cold War doctrine of mutually assured destruction, except now it's mutually assured blindness. And unlike nuclear weapons, there's no hotline between world leaders to de-escalate. No arms control treaties, no international inspectors, just thousands of satellites, dozens of nations with weapons, and a growing sense that someone somewhere is going to pull the trigger. And the craziest part? Private companies now own more satellites than most countries. SpaceX plans to launch 42,000 Starlink satellites. Amazon's Project Kuiper wants 3,000 more. China's building their own mega constellation. These aren't government assets. They're corporate property. If Elon Musk can decide to turn satellite internet on or off for an entire nation, which he did for Ukraine, what happens during the next global crisis? Who has authority? Who can stop him? Who even asks permission? We've privatized the battlefield and put it in the hands of billionaires. In 2023, a weird thing happened that barely made the news. A Russian satellite started following an American spy satellite. Just following it, matching its orbit, staying a few hundred meters behind it. For months, the Americans couldn't do anything about it. It's not an attack, it's not technically hostile. It's just watching, waiting, learning the satellite's vulnerabilities, planning. That Russian satellite is still up there, right now, following, waiting. So here's the reality we're living in. Every time you check Google Maps, every time you swipe your credit card, every time a hospital coordinates an emergency helicopter, you're trusting that invisible infrastructure 300 miles above your head will keep working. You're betting that the nations with the power to destroy it will choose restraint. Today. But what about tomorrow? What about next month when there's a border skirmish or a trade war escalates or a cyber attack gets attributed to the wrong country? Someone does the math and realizes they can win by shooting first, and they do. The first thing you'll notice is your phone showing no signal. Then the TV news goes dark. Then you'll step outside and look up at the sky, and you'll realize the stars aren't the only things up there anymore. There are weapons, thousands of them, orbiting silently, invisibly, waiting. The question isn't whether there will be war in space. The war is already happening. The question is whether we'll even notice when it escalates, when the silent war becomes loud, when the machines above stop helping us and start destroying each other. And when that happens, when the satellites go dark and the debris starts cascading, we'll finally understand what we've built. Not a network, not infrastructure. A sword of Damocles hanging over the entire human species, held up by nothing but the hope that no one cuts the thread. But hope isn't a strategy, and in space, no one can hear you scream.